Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Howard, you can do your hello if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So Howard Locke, I think most of you on this call know me, bar a few people. So my name's Howard Locke. I've been a business systems data analyst for just over 25 years. So like most people, I've worked on multiple projects of all different descriptions and types during my career. The good, the bad, and the ugly stuff. I met David about just over a year ago. He introduced me to BVMF. One of my first questions was, why has this not been commercialized? David said he's been busy creating models and techniques and that over the last 25 odd years and implemented them in his own career. But so I just said, well, for the stuff that I've seen, I think this should be out there and commercialized. So we sort of started a journey last April to start that. Andre was part of one of the original VIPs, so Andre can chip in at some point. But yeah, and so yeah, well, we've been doing courses now, and this is sort of an introduction and Q&A. So if you've got any questions, so hopefully everybody would have seen the website. You're going to have questions because there's no actual models on the website. So I'm hoping that as we go through this slide deck that you've got lots of questions. One thing I'm going to say in case David forgets is this is 40 minutes, this session. It will automatically stop at the end of it, but you can rejoin. So if we're still ongoing and there's still questions and you've got the appetite to rejoin, please rejoin. If not, reach out to me and we can add you into a follow-up session because obviously there's quite a lot to go through. Yeah, hand it over to you, David.
Thank you very much, Howard. Yes, just to say hi, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. Um, we the aim is to do a presentation, which I'm going to do for you now, of about 20 minutes. Okay, and then have about 20 or probably 15 minutes left of Q&A. This session will run out after the 40 minutes. If you want to, log back in, and I'm very, very happy to go on till 6:30 and answer any questions. We do encourage you to answer questions and feel free to interrupt me. What I will say to you is, having done quite a lot of webinars and courses, you will very often find that a question is asked to me or Howard, and the answer is, well, you're going to get the answer to that in 5 minutes' time, or on a course tomorrow morning, you will get the answer to that. So I'm just saying, with BVMF, the answer to questions is almost always yes. And it's worth thinking about, is this likely to be answered? So sort of let it seep in. You'll see a lot of new concepts. Don't worry about that. Just let it digest. And that's what we're going to do. What I would also just say, I'm going to be a little bit rude. Normally, we would do an introduction and make sure that everyone knows everyone and what our roles are. We haven't really got time for that tonight. So, hi. But just to say, to those of you who are thinking about coming on the next course, which is in March in Peterborough, we have two special guests with us tonight. Andre, who's done two courses with us, as I remember, and Bill, who's come up as William. Bill has done a course as well. So those two gentlemen are kind of like on the panel with me and Howard for question answering, and they will give you the truth. I can assure you. So let's start whacking through a few slides and trying to give you an idea of what you will experience if you come on our 2-day course. And if I can get my slides working, that would really help. There we go. I'm just going to move something out of the way. Right. So the first thing is, I hope you can see this because I've got a horrible
Yes.
black
Yeah.
thing in the way and I can't get rid of it. Right. What is BVMF? What is Business Value Maximization Framework? Well, basically, the fundamental principles for maximizing value, success, and return on investment in an IT enabled business or organizational context. These fundamental principles, to my way of thinking, when I started defining them, had never properly been defined, and I would still say that now. And that is a unique aspect of this framework. As well as a framework, it is a multifaceted skill set. And it's a way of thinking. So it's a mindset. It's a framework, it's a skill set, and it's a mindset. It's very comprehensive, in other words, and it's a set of models and tools, concepts, principles, guidelines, and techniques. That's where we start. There is quite a lot to it, so I hope that just gives you a feel for where we're starting. Again, looks like I'm gonna, why is that not working? There we go. Now, on the 2-day course, which is what we're introducing to you today, these are the kind of subjects we're going to cover. What is the problem? Do you realize, you may or may not know, that this industry has not had a great success rate over the last 40 or 50 years? In actual fact, about 3/4 of projects and work fails to meet expectations. Yes, it does. And that has never really effectively been addressed. We are addressing that. So we've got solutions for you. We talk about value cakes. What are the ingredients of the cake? All this kind of stuff. We break it down. We show you how to measure value practically, boost it, etc. How does BVMF differ from other methods, if you like? Because BVMF is not really a method. We try not to use that word. And what's the structure and extent of BVMF? How big or small is it? Well, as you can see there, it's got about 100 models and 500 concepts, principles, guidelines, and techniques. So it is no pipsqueak. It has been well thought through for a long time, and it is now getting out into the market with the fantastic help of Mr. Howard Locke and Miss Nicole Valchanova, who works for me at Maxwell Consultancy. Here's more of what we cover on the course. We talk about the role of the BVMS, the Business Value Maximisation Specialist, who uses the framework. We show you how to apply it, where to get more information. These are all the main subjects covered. Being a little bit more specific, we go across a weekend, and on a Saturday, this is how we roll out Saturday, starting with the history. And this is a sort of a similar list, but in a more agendaed kind of fashion, if you like. We go through Saturday. We probably meet up informally on Saturday night and have a nice drink and some food and a chat. And then on Sunday, we carry on. We do work very hard on these courses. There's a lot to get through. We are getting quite, how can I put it, quite good at sequencing all this and fitting it in. On Sunday afternoon, we do a practical exercise to make sure that all the attendees have understood what we've been showing you, but, you know, also for your benefit so that you can see that you're starting to grasp the concepts.
Yeah, and it's probably worth mentioning, David, that on the 2-day course, the weekend one, there isn't an exam at the end of it. There's a certificate of attendance, but there is no exam. There's the exercise that David just mentioned, but there isn't actually an exam. But you do get a certificate of attendance.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a 3-day course, brewing, where there will be an exam, and that's foundation full level 3. This that we're talking to you about now, I'll say a bit more about this later, but that's absolutely correct. You don't get an exam on this one, but you do on the Sunday afternoon get a chance to try it out. And increasingly, Howard and I will be sort of checking that attendees have understood, because you do get a lot of new concepts thrown at you on this course, which is very exciting. So our objective of the course is to raise whatever level of capability you currently think you have for generating value, success, and ROI. You might be pretty good at it already. And if you are, we will be very pleased to have you and see if we can refine and take that skill onto another level. If you're just starting out with this journey, again, great. But whatever level you start with, we hope by the end of these 2 days, you will be a lot further down, and you'll be able to go back to your clients or your employers and really start helping them to get value out of this project work that we all do, that has struggled to understand and really rolled out effective ROI for nearly half a century. Well, I can tell you guys, this is no longer the case, because we are leading an initiative to make this get a lot better. Here's what's happened. Why BVMF? Because, as I just said, 3/4 of projects fail to meet expectations, and they still do. And this statistic hasn't got much better. So, with all your methods and your agile and your prints and you name it, this has not got much better. We are directly helping this statistic to get better. We want to see this 75% coming down and down and down. And you, ladies and gentlemen, may be part of this initiative, which would be fantastic. Here are some pictures of how BVMF fits in. On the left, we talk about this disciplines jigsaw. You see all these rather slightly siloed activities, business analysis and architecture and Ben's management and blah, have all been rather working in a rather siloed way. And when you look at them from a value perspective, which I started doing a very long time ago, ladies and gentlemen, in the 1990s, because I thought there's something missing here, there's all this activity going on and there's a lot of projects happening. And so what BVMF does is it brings the missing value parts of the jigsaw, and then the other parts that are there, but they're just not quite fitting together. It helps David, those to fit together. Howard,
David, yeah, quick question. Akins just asked, what context is the course applying to the phrase business value? Is it for an IT-enabled change, or is it more strategic in nature? Now, Akins a business, Akins a business architect. Just so you know the background, David.
Yeah. It's all of it. Do you remember that I said at the beginning, with BVMF, the answer is almost always yes. It's all of it. But it may be that there are value types and there are types and types of value, and we look at those from their respective points of view. Now, because I started this early, I've just got a 10-minute warning on the session. That's strange. What's the time? Okay. All right. If the session disappears, ladies and gentlemen, would you be kind enough to just log back in on the same link? I may have slightly messed up on the timing on this, but just log back in if we suddenly disappear. Okay. The other diagram is another way of looking at it. You see those foundations at the bottom. If you've got proper value-related foundations, then all these other activities like project management and business analysis will make a much firmer block of flats. You will get a much better result because they've all been struggling at the moment to understand value, to use value. There have been too many cracks in the pavement and they are on the way out. Here is another way of looking at it. The business value maximization specialist that uses business value maximization framework works with all these people in a very polymathic way. There are two aspects to a BVMS. One is they've got all these models and structures from BVMF, which the industry has not previously had. And secondly, the BVMS is a very polymathic operator who can work with and talk with all these other roles and overlap them, and this is because this has sort of come out of my career, and I am very polymathic and I can work with all these different people and I can talk their languages, and the BVMS is like that. The BVMS unites everyone around these value-based structures which industry has not previously had. So we've got a lot of power going on. The degree to which the business value maximization specialist can do this very multi-skilled, polymathic uniting depends on your, professional maturity, if you like. And that's, but you can, a BVMS could be quite early on in their careers, in their 20s even, if they've got this kind of mindset. BVMF consists of 100 models, 500 of these concepts, principles, guidelines, and techniques, as we've said. And it's been, this has been developing. I kicked this off in the early 1990s from experience I had in the 80s and the early 90s. And I thought, boy, you know what? There's some stuff missing here, guys. And I spent a very long time working on this and proving it. And then I met Mr. Howard Locke back in November of 24, and he started rolling this out. And this is a very interesting journey that we're now all on. BVMF is not any of these things. Okay, it's not an end-to-end delivery methodology. That's not what it's supposed to do. Not paint by numbers or join the dots like some of these other methods where they imply that if you do all these things, you're going to get great results. No, you're not. This is grown-up thinking. You need to understand how the business and IT join up. And on the course, you will see a lot of how business and IT join up that you had not seen before, because we're going to show you the intermediate layers, which have not been previously defined nice and clearly and nice and usably. Here are some key questions that you will get answers to on the course. These aren't the only questions, but these are the ones that I wanted to put into the presentation today. What is value? How does it arise? Where will it come from? Does it come from the business? Does it come from IT? Blah, blah, blah. And then we use some analogies. We imagine we're making a value cake. So what are the ingredients of that cake need to be? And what are the recipe steps need to be? These have never been properly defined because I'm talking about a value cake, not a project cake, right? We've got IT going on. Yes, we need IT. That's part of the means to an end. We've got a project going on. We've got business processes. All good, all good. We need all that. But what we're really focusing on is how do we get all that to produce a great big result, return on investment. That's what it's all for. And up to now in this industry, it's been a bit of hope and pray, really, to my way of thinking. It's not been explicit. It's been, if we do all this other stuff right, and we do prints and we do agile and we have stand-up meetings, blah, 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 we'll get lots of ROI. I'm sorry to tell you, you won't. And you can just look at the history of the last 50 years, which proves that you won't. On this course, you will learn how to be much, much more effective in knowing you are going to get some blooming good results for your business out of it. Here are the 15 core models that you will see on this 2-day course. You will see a lot of terms here and abbreviations that you won't necessarily know what they are, but by the end of the course, oh yes, you will know what they are. We'll give you a glossary, and here is a list of those 15 and those names. By the way, Howard will kindly send these slides out to you, and you can study this a bit and think more about if you'd like to come on the course, and you can talk to me or Howard by all means. Just doing a time check. It looks like we're not doing too badly at all. Do log back in if the screen suddenly disappears. Here's one model, right? Now we've got about 100 models. This is one of about 100 models. Of course, it's one of the early core models that you get, and this shows you how value arises at runtime when you've done all the design, you've run your project, it's all breathing away in the operational situation, in business as usual, if you like. This is, I'm not going to go through the detail of this, but I just want you to see what some of the models look like. On the course, we go through this. We understand what value is, how it arises, what we need to do to make sure that it comes out the other end of the sausage machine, nice and big. So you'll get, you'll get more than 15 of these on the course. They'll probably get, oh, crikey, I don't know, probably twice that number, wouldn't you say, Howard?
I would, yeah. David, a quick question actually is coming from Vikas
Yeah,
that I was just saying.
sure.
The question is the BVMS role, in brackets, following BVMF, similar to a Scrum Master where Scrum is followed? So I'll be interested in your answer on that, David.
No. is my answer to that. And you'll hopefully you'll understand more about that on that by the end of this presentation. And if you don't, talk to me and I'll explain the difference. Basically, a Scrum Master is trying to get some IT organized
Delivered
and happen,
effectively.
whereas a BVMS is trying to get some value organized and happen. And they're two different things. Yes, the IT might be part of the means to the end of getting the value. That's the connection. Right. Here are some links, which when you get these slides, you can have a look at. These are all recent resources, 6 articles that I've written in the last couple of years that are up at Open Access Government. There's a Spotify podcast. There are 7 videos on our YouTube channel, and there are 4 IIBA webinar recordings. These are all fairly recent from the last few years. And if you want to learn more than you're seeing tonight, watching this, I would highly recommend. There are a lot more resources I could give you, but I don't want to sort of blind you. These are all really worth looking at. They are made for people who want to come in to this world, and especially for business analysts, but not only for business analysts.
And David, just a quick question coming from
Yeah,
Akin, which is a very, very good one.
yeah.
So the question was, how can the VDM be used to drive business strategy? So for those who don't know, that's the value delivery model. So the question again from Akin was, how can the VDM be used to drive business strategy?
It can and it will. That will be explained on the course, and I'm happy to say a bit more about that in the Q&A later. Um, if you come on the course, at the end of that course, you will know most of the answer to that question, but I will help you. This affects strategy. It affects everything. If you remember back to the diagrams I've shown you, once you understand how value arises, it will guide strategy, process, IT. Any note taker? Okay, we're good. We're good. Right. Okay, everybody. Yeah, you will on the course. You will learn a lot more. What's it called? USPs, unique selling points about BVMF. But this is one point we keep trying to make. This gives you the missing pieces of the jigsaw and helps the other pieces that are existing to fit much better in respect of getting value. So BVMF does not set out to be a complete end-to-end delivery model. It is a delivery of value model, but it works with what is already there. So the beauty of this is if you're using Prince and Scrum and blah 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 blah, you can keep using all those things. We don't try to replace those, but you will find yourself using them differently. You will find they all link up much more effectively, and you will get a better result at the end because you've got a business value maximization specialist, which at the very least will be you working with the team, supplying the missing models, links, skills, techniques. So this is a good thing. Now, just in case you think, I hope you've got a nice clear view of my screen because I've got a few
Yes,
bits.
yeah, we're in slide mode. It's good.
So just in case you think that it's only me and Howard saying this, here are 2 ladies who were on the last course, weren't they, back in November, Howard?
Yes.
And you can see what they said. And we didn't pay them to say this. In fact, God bless them, they paid us to come on the course, which was very nice of them. And despite that, they wanted to say this, and you can see what they said. An exceptional framework and collection of techniques, blah, blah, blah. Concentration on value is, oh, I can't read that. You can probably read it better than me.
Contract value is unique. Never seen this level of detail
Yeah,
before.
yeah. And these are the sort of comments that I'm very proud to say we get. Bilkis was a most intelligent and very effective operator. I'm not quite sure whether she was a consumer of alcohol, because I'm not quite sure why she felt like saying David was amazing. She must have been drunk at the time. That's all I can say.
When I gave you the
Uh,
feedback, David, I was in two minds whether you'd put that one in, but that was true. I can vouch for that. We've got the handwritten version from Bilkis on that. David, before we carry on, obviously it's good to show these, and obviously we're going to share this. You have the links. You can feel free to reach out to Sharon and Bilkis. Tess has just asked, or Teresa, obviously, is on the screen here, has asked an interesting question. So, how can the business analyst embed BVMF principles in their day-to-day analysis without unnecessary complexity to existing models? So I think, how does a BA use BVMF day to day without without adding unnecessary complexity. So, I mean,
we,
from my perspective, and obviously, David, I'll let you answer in a minute. I think BVMS to start with is an overlay role that we will use in our normal day jobs. So it's definitely a different way of thinking. So you won't do things differently in the fact that if you've been asked to capture requirements, do all these things. However, you're going to start really thinking about value. And when you do things, you're just going to be questioning it, right? Rather than just doing things, you will be starting to think about value a lot more. David, sorry, you elaborate on that.
no, thanks, Howard. And thanks for the question. Right, look, it's like any investment, okay? You put 10 quid in, you get 27 quid out, or hopefully you get 45 quid out. So you're going to put some effort in, but you're going to get multiple times that out. Actually, I and BVMF and we do everything we possibly can to keep it simple, believe it or not. Right? This is grown up stuff, so there will be new concepts. When you build this into how you go about your daily business analysis work, you will find yourself working slightly differently and more valuably without necessarily adding any unnecessary complexity to what you're doing. In actual fact, everything you do will be more effective. Yeah. There will be some learning for you. Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be some learning for your
Thanks for
colleagues.
Cass.
Yes. Um, and if you come on the course, you'll hear a lot more about that. But I hope that sort of gives you a bit of a feel of what the
Yeah.
answer is.
And probably to add to that as well, Tess and David, is the fact that, to start with, BVMS is going to be an overlay role because it's a new industry type role that's not out there. Now, we can talk about benefits managers versus value and stuff like that. That comes up sometimes. Funny enough, Bilkis was actually had done a lot in benefits management, but she could also see the value of BVMF in actually overlaying it in what you'd start just normally do in sort of benefits management space. So I've got a couple of predictions that to start with, BVMS will be an overlay role that you'll do in your day job, whether you're an architect, business analyst, change manager, project manager, or whatever. But then I think the future could be there will be just business value specialists out there that are complementing projects and programs and making sure that value and lots of net benefit comes out of projects. My other prediction I said to David is that, C-suite levels have been changing over the years. We didn't have a chief data officer or chief security officer for 10, 15 years ago. And these are new C-suite roles that have been introduced. I personally think that in the future, we're going to have a chief value officer as a new C-suite role. And I see that chief value officer working sort of between the CFO, the chief finance officer, and like head of projects and programs and PMO, and they're going to be gatekeepers for value. So when you've got a portfolio of 60, 100 projects, which a lot of big organizations have, maybe hundreds or more, they're going to be the gatekeepers to say, look, if you do this project, these projects are you going to most likely to get more net value out of. So yeah, I think this is an exciting time where it's not only just a new overlay, role at an analytical and sort of projecty type level, but also at C-suite. So that's my personal prediction of the future. So watch this space and see if that happens.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. That is a great point. The chief value officer should have existed a long time ago, in my view. The chief value officer that Howard's talking about will likely be a business value maximization specialist, which could be one of us here now in this Zoom meeting, promoted up and working at the C level. We're just trying to kick this off with the generic, or not, it's not that generic, it's very specific, but the business value maximization specialist role. We are expecting some CIOs to come and have training with us, like a one-day CIO course. And yes, we are expecting some of you, ladies and gentlemen, to take this on. And within a year or two, if your career is going well, you may end up as the CVO. It's definitely that's a missing piece of that discipline's jigsaw. You know, I looked at it a long time ago and I thought, where is this role happening? It doesn't seem to be happening. So
And just add, sorry, one more to add to that, David, is at the moment as well, whether you're a contractor or whether you're in a perm role, value and ROI is definitely something that I've seen more focus on over the last 12 to 18 months. Now, you probably, you know, anyone who's a contractor will know the market has been pretty tough. So CapEx projects, a lot of them have been put on hold. So in order to spark these back up, companies are now being a lot more closer to their purse strings to say, look, what projects should we do? So the projects that have survived are typically regulatory projects for obvious reasons, and end of life projects, hardware and software. So that those sort of continue, but all the other stuff in between, and even the AI projects, right? So we will do a bit on AI on the course as well. So a lot of people say, how does it work with AI? Well, AI is great, but it's a set of solutions, right? So AI might be a set of solutions, and in order to determine which ones you should probably adopt, you can use a BVMF models to go, well, actually, if I implement these AI solutions, where am I most likely to get net benefit from? So it's the other way around, right? So everybody's crazy at the moment about AI, and obviously AI is fantastic, but companies also need to work out what the value they're going to get from it, rather than just saving FTE. And there's a lot of, I could go on all day about RPA and things like that, but this is also could be used as a tool to determine, if you've got AI solutions out there, which ones, are most likely to give you net benefit. So yeah, this is why it's quite exciting at the moment, and how, everything's changing. The economy has been tough, and companies are very, very close at, looking at spend. So, and this plays nicely into obviously the whole ethos, and what underpins BVMF. Sorry, David, back
Andre's
to
got
you.
his hand up.
Here we go. Okay. Oh yeah, Andre's got his hand up. Go for it, Andre.
You have to unmute.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I just kind of wanted to add on top of all the discussion that we had about kind of like where the skill set sits within, for example, business analysis or business architecture, which is kind of where my skill set is predominantly. For me, as I've been working as a business analyst for 9 years, not as much as some of the people here in the room, but I've seen across my career, I've seen dozens and dozens of projects from the startup in the middle, at the very end, and all kind of ranges of successes. And for me personally, what I've been noticing is, and kind of thinking a lot, is so many companies miss the initial discovery work and initial analysis of pre-project analysis. And for me, the BVMF very nicely fits within this initial stages of the project, where you really understanding why you're doing this in the first place, what the driving force behind it. You're applying specific, instead of kind of like as a business analyst thinking of the best ways or how can I deliver this information to my stakeholders and things like that. BVMF gives you the tools and the models to how you can use that and present it in the most impactful way. And I've been using some of those different techniques where it's applicable, and it's been received in a very it's been very well received, because the level of information and the communication, it hits the right points that the stakeholders, especially the senior stakeholders, really want to see. It hits the points of where you're getting the value, where you're getting the benefit, why are you doing this in the first place, And then it obviously fits within the general, enterprise or business architecture of the organization, where like if we're doing change, why we're doing the change, and where are we gonna see the benefits of it. That's why the BVMF, while you can see a lot of business analysts and business architects kind of interested in this at the moment, I also feel like people like project managers and people specializing in kind of benefits management and benefits tracking, they are involved in all this. This is cross-functional, cross-specialist framework that takes the best elements and incorporates everybody in the decision making. I think as business analysts, we're kind of here usually advocating this kind of, oh, let's think a little bit more about why we're doing it, because we really want to see the projects to succeed, and we are involved often in the beginning of the project, doing the requirements and initial analysis there. But yeah, I feel like this sits across the whole project, the whole organization, and really embeds itself into the strategy of the business, as well as the kind of the whole mindset. And what's kind of David and Howard were so talking about the mindset here. So
Brilliant.
this is just kind of wanted to add from my side as well as a
Perfect.
contractor and consultant here.
Perfect. Thanks, Andre. That's really insightful. And just a reminder, Andre's been on the journey with us since April last year as one of our early adopters and our VIP guests. So obviously he's been on multiple courses. And just to touch on what Andre said then, is we get a lot of questions around, business cases, benefits management, benefits realization. So I mean, in a normal world, what happens is a business case is written. A lot of the ROI benefits and value is usually quite aspirational. And if we're all being honest, a lot of the times a business case is written to get funding from a CFO. Okay, so that doesn't guarantee any value of delivery. So, and then what happens? Benefits management and realization. Typically, that happens at the end of a project life cycle. So usually a project's gone live and it's 3, 6 months, 12 months down the line. So, it takes a long time in the life cycle and journey to determine, have you actually got any benefit out of what we've done? And quite often, and it's not as beneficial as you've expected. By that time, it's too late. Lots of money's been spent, lots of blood, sweat, and tears. So how BVMF is different is because a lot of people say to us, well, when do you use it? Do you use it at the beginning, the middle, or the end? Well, the answer's all the way through the journey. So from a strategic point of view, Akin, and this is probably more to business architecture, it's you can acid test stuff before you even do it, right? So you can do it before you even start, and that can help with decision in a strategic direction of where you should be going. And then if you decide to, that there is value in doing something, then during the models, during the life cycle, you can use them multiple times to recheck value. And the ABC, I think David flashed up, assess, boost, and check. This is something you continually do during, because it might be, if you're not getting the value, then project could be canned, right? But if you can prove that you're not going to get value as well as you are going to get value, because obviously there's two sides to it, and then at the end of it, you can use to check to see, all the stuff, all that net benefit that was expected, has that been realized? So it is throughout the whole journey, which is why it's quite powerful, and that's why it's different to sort of business case and benefits management and realization. There's a whole lot more to it. So David, obviously we've been talking quite a bit. I'm conscious that you've not said anything for a while, but I just wanted to add that level to it. And again, if you come on the course, we can go through that in a bit more detail.
No, I like it when it's not just me wittering on about this, because it shows that I had many years when people looked at me very strangely, and I thought, is it me? So thank you, Andre, very much, and Howard. Let's move on. We're coming towards the end. There was something that occurred to me in the middle there, and then I clicked the wrong button and it went out of my head. I was going to say, more of these questions will be answered on the course. What I will say is, yes, when you get these slides, do have a look at the links that I showed you a couple of slides ago. This will give you further depth and maybe give you ideas about more questions you'd like to ask. We'll answer as many questions as we can to try and help you to understand if it will be good for you to come on the course. we would love you to come on it. And here you can see these two ladies were pretty pleased. Now, this is one of the first people I trained in BVMF a few years ago. This was a principal business analyst in a very large corporation, a permanent person who I was mentoring. And I said, would you like to be trained in BVMF? And she said, yes, please. So I trained her. And this is what she said at the end of the training. Extreme common sense. Wished I'd known about it years ago. As part of the mentoring she was doing with me, we got her moved to another company where she was a much bigger cog in a smaller machine, and she's been doing absolutely fabulously since then. And she has BVMF skills, which she is much enjoying, and her employers are benefiting from. And here's what a client person said. You might want to know what the client thinks of it all. And there you go. If you're a BVMS, you might find the client saying about you, I don't know anybody who translates between business and IT as well as you, because you will learn all the intermediate languages on our course. It is a set of layered concepts and languages, and that's why nobody has bridged this blooming business IT gap that you still see in IT and particularly BA roles to this very day. Dear oh dear, you do not need to have a gap if you know BVMF. It is not there, and we will show you how to make it not there. You got us more value than we thought possible. Well, I was delighted that this gentleman felt that way, and he was the European purchasing manager for a very large multinational manufacturer. Thank you very much. These are the courses that we potentially do. The one we're doing most of is the second one in the list, and that's the one we're talking to you about right now. We've nearly got the exam ready to do the level 3, and there is an intermediate and an advanced course going to be available very soon. This is how it looks on our website, which you may well have seen. And there you go. That's the end of the formal presentation. Feel free to ask any questions, people, given that you've got Howard and me and Andrei and Bill here. And I suggest we've got another 10 minutes. So please fire away. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop sharing because you will get these slides, and then I can see you and you can see me.
Yeah, it's a shame Paul Everly just had to drop off. He just said it's really good, and unfortunately to drop off now, so he's going to catch up with me separately. So that's Paul. So yeah, guys, I mean, obviously unmute your mics, ask any questions. There's no silly questions. Obviously you've had a sort of veneer overview of BVMF. You've probably seen the website. You've still got lots of questions. So yeah, just fire away. There is no stupid question.
That's true. There's no stupid question. I used to feel pretty stupid trying to roll this out many years ago and thinking, is it me? No one seems to be focusing on what's coming out at the end of all this work, hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds going on. And nothing's coming out. Anyway, yeah. Questions, anybody? Or are you all sort of fairly happy? We will be around. We're doing this again next Thursday. So actually 15 minutes later. We're doing it again the Thursday after at 5:30, and we are around. Howard's around. I'm around. Nicole is around most mornings, and we're up for any questions. Email us. Howard, have people got how would they email us? Because we've got the BVMF inbox. We've also got our own email addresses.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's obviously anybody who already interacts with me at Howard Lock Consulting can do that. Everybody probably now has seen the value at BVMF info email address. Either or, it's not a problem. Just reach out. Akin, I can see that you've unmuted your mic. I'm sure you've got some questions. I'll be very surprised if you haven't, Akin. So, background, David, Akin is a business architect, hence probably more of the strategic questions around it. So, go for it, Akin. I'm sure you've got more than one.
Thanks, Howard, and good to see you again.
And you.
And thanks for the presentation, David. So I am very keen and quite locked into understanding how to deliver value by making business changes. And I think that's one of the things I see organizations struggling with a lot. It's usually we've got a strategy with some objectives that we want to implement. And then, yeah, we've got some projects to run out. And then, there isn't that traceability between what's happening on the strategic level and the project delivery level. So, always anything that would help, I guess, senior management to sort of tie that together. It could be in form of a matrix, some whatever traceability framework and all that. So yeah, definitely, I think this will be very useful. Um, However, my question is, so within business architecture, we've got concepts like, value streams, value propositions that sort of try to help tease out what the value is the organization is delivering. Um, and that's beyond making, project or program related changes. So from that level, so I guess my question really is how. So I understand the whole context of, layering the value, but it's more around when we have a strategy and a vision to say this is where we want to get to. How can BVMF as a framework help with unraveling that? Because
Well,
usually it gets quite fluffy at the top, and it's
It
like, yeah,
does.
you lot go think about it and tell us how you want to do it and what changes you need to make. And it usually comes down to, oh, yeah, we've got a technology or an IT tool that can solve all the world problems. And usually that fails. That's the reason why it fails. IT project fails. So, you know, um, for me, yes, I used to work as a business analyst as well, but I've been working as a business architect for the past 7 years or so. So it's more on that strategic analysis side of things, how well can BVMF actually support,
you've got
bringing
parts
clarity to a very, very gray area.
Good
you've
question,
got
Akin.
you've got parts of your story there, your value story, and it's not a full story. If you think about it as a chain, you've got some missing links, and you've heard a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and you've got weak links. Now, that's not because you're doing rubbish work or anything. That's just because you've not had these structures and techniques before. Um, a lot, basically, yeah, you've got value streams, value propositions, and all that stuff. Yeah, you will get a lot more detail around that. A lot more detail, a lot more specific detail, concrete detail,
Yeah,
where you are making assumptions that these two bits of the jigsaw are going to work together, and they may or may not. You will be working in a way where you are far, far more certain that they will work like that because you will know more about what connects them.
yeah,
So,
yeah. To add to that, David, as well. So basically, how to explain? So BVMF, because every single model and technique, Akin, is designed to obtain optimal or maximum value out of it. They're all value focused, right? So the difference is, yes, business architecture's got value streams. I've worked on some value streams. It's great stuff. And value propositions as well. And obviously business architecture, it gives you some things, but because BVMF is all the models and techniques are um, designed to obtain maximum value. It's a bit like, yes, you can still do value streams. Yes, you can do value propositions. That will give you some answers, but BVMF will answer everything. So one of the models is called conceptual units of benefit, and that's quite a powerful one. Very simple to understand, but that's forces you to think about, how much benefit are you going to get out of what you're doing. And obviously you sort of you put the data in and the information in, and obviously get the information out. So obviously we'd have to show you that on the course. And also the layers of focus as well, that hones you into looking at these different layers. So everything is designed to force you to think about value. So that's the difference. So, business architecture, value is only one element of it, whereas in BVMF, it's all about value, right? So that's the key differences. So when I first started to see the models just over a year ago, as a business analyst with 25 years experience, I thought, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. And then David showed me another model, and I thought, wow, I've never really seen anything like that before either. I thought I knew quite a lot, right? 25 years in my career as a BA working in IT change and transformation, I thought I knew quite a bit until I started to see these models, and I thought, and this is why I said to David, why has this not been commercialized? And David said, well, I've been busy, doing it in my day job and busy creating the models and that. And, so I just said, right, we've got to stop this. Now, I don't want to use the agile, because David doesn't necessarily, because obviously agile is a delivery methodology, but, Agile 25 years ago when they did the manifesto, they were changing the way, how you deliver projects, right? Going from waterfall, incremental into, iterative, right? And again, that concept, some people have said, no, that's mad. You can't deliver software code in 2 weeks. Well, again, whether you're an advocate of agile or waterfall or RUP or all or none of the above, BVMF it does focus on value, and that's why it's different, and that is why it's unique, and that's why it doesn't reinvent the wheel, because it fills in the gaps that all the other methodologies and frameworks don't. Well, one thing I actually say to people is business analysts will probably study BCS IIBA. No problem with that. Architects will probably go down the TOGAF route. Again, no problem with that. Service people will do ITIL. And then you've got projects managers that will do APM or Prince 2. Now, all of these people, we always work with these people, and it does work in harmony-ish, but these are all sort of delivered. Everybody's doing slightly different things, whereas BVMF unifies everything together and helps people focus on value. So, I mean, I think David once said before, I don't know if he said it on this call, but, if you get 10 people in a room on a project and say to all of them, right, guys, we need to make sure we get some value out of what we're doing here, nobody would do it. Unless I say, Akin, you are responsible for value as a value specialist as well as an architect. So that's, if you just tell people in the room to focus on it, they won't. And this is what we're now shifted into, having that value focus, which is why it's a mindset, a way of working and a way of thinking. Andre, I can see your hand's been up for a while now. Question or answer?
No, I wanted to add to the discussion here, and I'll add it from my perspective as somebody who doesn't work actively as a business architect, but very interested in business architecture, and I have some certifications from BCS on business architecture as well. And for me, business architecture sometimes looks at more of a high level as well as organizational view. So what does organization need to do in order to achieve its strategic objectives? Yeah, and then you're kind of breaking it down into value chains, and then you're breaking down the capability models and such into processes, and you can drill down to kind of quite a lot of detail. For me personally, BVMF specifically looks at the project, and I feel like this is why kind of David and Howard, at first, what they present is that 75% of projects fail, and project is a how you reach your company objectives, your business strategies. Yeah. So by implementing this project, by implementing this new technology, it's going to help us achieve this and this. So when we are looking at BVMF techniques specifically, you break down the project into value. And then for me personally, I would see how these values of this specific project, why are we doing this? What it's going to bring to us, how much it's going to cost, what impact it's going to have on these key parts of the business, how it all relates to the business architecture that we have, how it all relates to the strategy, the value chain, the capabilities. This is how I would do it. So it supplements each other, and BVMF looks at the project while business architecture looks at the business as a whole. So hopefully that kind of makes sense to what I'm saying here.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Sorry, Emma. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. What I've done, so when our sort of introduced me to BVMF, I thought, oh, brilliant. This will be quite interesting to see. But basically, what I've done is a switch to say, right, we've got business outcomes, yeah, which is meant to say this is really what we want to measure, at the end of a period, which is exactly the same thing as business value. So why are we doing what we're doing? What outcome do you want to reach? What value do we want to deliver? And it makes total sense. So yeah, definitely I'm sold. I'm quite interested in seeing all those models and frameworks and all that. Yeah, so I'm sure it will be useful going forward.
Have a look at the links. Akin, have a look at the links that are in the Howard. When we send out the slides, I was talking about our email addresses. Let's give the ladies and gentlemen our direct email addresses that we use on a daily basis as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, because I think a lot of people that already interact with me have mine. So yeah.
Yeah, Emma's got a hand up. Guys, the session may run out again for the second time. This is good. This is very lively. I'm going to log back in and just see for a third time if there's anyone left who still wants to talk, because I'm happy to carry on. Emma,
Emma.
you've got a question.
Hi, very quickly. Where would you say this qualification has the most leverage for someone like me who's working across consulting, program leadership, and products? Just trying to see how it can help me
Yeah.
in what I do. Because
How would you do? What's your role title, or is that your
at the moment, program manager.
right? Program manager.
I'm quite hands-on, so a lot of application development type stuff.
Right.
I just
Well,
want to relate it to what I'm currently doing and seeing where it would give me leverage.
Well, BVMF is for everybody. This
Mm.
is another difference, right? Prince is for project managers and blah 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 blah. You've got this, you've got that. It's all too chopped up.
Mm.
BVMF unites everybody around being able to understand what we are all trying to do together. Now, for program managers, great, because part of your responsibility, ostensibly, is to see value coming out of the projects and how you do all this. Now, one of the models on the course that you will see is the conceptual units of benefit ladder, which Howard mentions before, actually can be brought forward and used at program level. So not only on the project, you can see all the bits of value in the project, but at program level, you can see all the value of each of the projects and how they all fit. The answer to your question is plenty. I don't want to keep sort of giving this glib answer, but the answer with BVMF is always yes.
Mhm.
I don't know if we've got any. We've had mostly business analysts, but we're really, we're going to have CIOs. We're going to have program managers, project managers. It will benefit you and your career as much as anybody. What I will say to you is that it is still amazingly right early in the rollout and recognition of this role. I've been doing this role since the 1990s, and yet this industry is still struggling to realize, oh, we ought to have people focusing on value and what all this money is getting spent on. So it's early. But if you come with us, we are getting out there, madam. I can tell you, we are really getting out there. Yes, we are.
And to add to that, so Amma, if you think about the fact that if you've got projects, portfolios, work streams under your belt or remit, if you think of the difference between a standard project manager, program manager, somebody's in delivery, that they are only really focused on delivering. It's usually timeline based, and yes, they work into budgets, and that's just part of project world, but
Mm.
a lot of people, Amma, and you probably know that they're not really thinking about value. Imagine the difference if you join an
No.
organization and you say, do you know what? I deliver projects, I deliver programs, and I deliver work streams. But not only do I just deliver, I'm conscious and conscientious and concerned about delivering value in the organization. So whether you're a contractor or a permie, um, how much friendly will you be in a boardroom if they know that we've got Amma as one program manager and we've got Doris who's another project manager. Doris doesn't care about money. Doris doesn't care about value, but Doris only cares about delivering on that date she said, right? Versus you actually does all of the above, plus you're delivering value, and maybe you even, working with the PMO to say, look, we've done some value analysis on these projects, programs, and work streams. I can tell you that you're going to get the most value out of these. You can choose to, not do it, or you can choose to do it, but with BVMF, you can actually then use that to prioritize. So it's very powerful at program and project level. And this is why it sort of works at all levels. Now, it might not be you doing that analysis. It could be you've got two value specialists and you say, right, guys, we've got 100 projects. Can we do some analysis to see where the value is going to come from? It might be you managing these value specialists to determine what that is. So, but once you've done the course, it will give you that mindset to think, right, and when you start talking value in boardrooms and you start talking about ROI, proper ROI, not aspirational business case, pie in the sky stuff, we're talking about quantifiable net benefit. That's going to make you stand out and shine. So, I mean, Amber, I can't remember. Are you contract or are you permie?
I'm contract at the moment. So I'm just thinking in terms of what I'm currently doing and about to finish in this contract, something like this would be really valuable to strengthening the business